Hello everyone, this is Oli for Altar of Wisdom, and today we're taking a look at his latest devices, Lord of the Knobs. So what is Lord of the Knobs? Think of it as the bigger brother of the macros found in Ableton Live. Or to be more precise, it's like if you took the macros from Vital VST, if you're familiar with it, with all the bells and whistles, you put them on steroids, and now you're using them to modulate everything in Ableton Live. Still doesn't make sense? Let's take a deeper look at the device, see what is it all about and how we can use it inside and outside of the studio. So Lord of the Knobs is basically a one-knob Max for Live device that can modulate or control up to 12 destinations. It has 9 envelopes that you can choose from to control how Lord of the Knobs is modulating or controlling these 12 destinations. These 9 envelopes are 1 linear and 8 fully featured envelope. What does that mean? Let's check them out. So if we click on the Show UI in here, we'll get the control panel for the destinations and the envelopes. So first of all, we have the 12 destinations in here. We have minimum and maximum value for every destination, just like any macro control in Ableton Live. We have the curve control. Now, if you're familiar with the macros in Serum VST, we have the exact kind of curve control, and this is actually really useful, especially when using the linear envelope in Lord of the Knobs. We also have force minimum and maximum value in here. Now, I found this really useful, especially for live use, because sometimes you just want the parameter to jump to maximum value. This maximum value can be, I don't know, on, off, or full modulation, or whatever that be. You don't want to turn the knob fully to get that maximum value. You just hit a button, you have the minimum or the maximum value, and it'll stay there as long as the button is pressed. Next, we have the ramp parameter in here, and this applies smoothness on the modulation, or when you're turning the knob. This is really useful when you're dealing with modulations that might create spikes in audio, like turning on and off, I don't know, a beat repeat, a filter, something like that. And you can choose this smoothness in either milliseconds. You can go from basically 0 to 2 seconds, or you can set it in time division, and you can go from 1 on 128 up to 16 bars. This is a really flexible range that you can work with. Now, if you go to the envelope section in here, and by the way, you can close it or open it by clicking on the More button in here, you can see it consists of 2 sections or windows. The first one is the envelope select. Basically, every destination, you can choose which envelope is controlling it. And when it comes to the envelopes, it's like any envelope control that Altar of Wisdom included in his devices. You can save or load the envelopes, you can flip them vertically, horizontally, you can delete whatever you make. Let's draw something real quick. We can delete it like so, and you have these predefined shapes that you can use as a starting point, or let's say a place to get some inspiration from. Of course, you can choose the grid size from 1 to 16, X and Y axis included, and you can snap and unsnap to X and Y axes, just like so. Alright, so that was a full overview of the device. Now let's hear it in action and create some sounds with it. Alright, so here we are on my Kick and Bass channel, and I want to create an audio effect that I can use to create transitions. So since this is the Kick and Bass, the easiest way to create transition is by filtering out the sound with a high-pass filter, then turning on a delay, and to spice it up, we'll add some flanging. Now, I want to do all of this with one knob using Lord of the Knobs. How? Let's check it out. So first of all, we want to turn on and off this auto filter, but I won't map a modulation to the on and off button because this will create some spikes in sound. The easiest way to do so is by grouping this auto filter in here, going to the audio chains in here, duplicating this audio chain. One of them won't have the filter, and this is going to be our dry signal, and the one with the filter will be our wet signal, just like so. Now, if we go to the chain in here, we can create these chains, and then we will put these sliders just like so. And now with this upper slider, we can control which of the chains we're hearing. So if I filter the sound like so, we will get this. Oh, let's turn off the delay and flanger. So this is the dry signal and the wet signal. And you know what? The wet signal will start somewhere in here. So from 0 to 8, we have only full dry signal. Perfect. Now, we will control this slider with Lord of the Knobs. So I'll click on the Show UI in here, I'll hit Map like so, and I'll set it to control the sliders. Now we have this. But I want this modulation to be instantaneous. So I'll click on More in here. I'll set the first destination here to go to the first envelope. And this first envelope in here, I'll set the grid size on the x-axis to 16 like so. And I'll create this modulation. I won't set it to fully. I'll set it to, yeah, let's say 0.8. You can see the numbers in here. Set it to, yeah, maybe 0.8, somewhere around here. That's perfect. So now we will have an almost instantaneous modulation. It's like a on and off button, but smooth one. Check this out. We still have a slight jump in sound, and we can fix that by using the ramp parameter in here. I'll set it to time division. I'll set it to, yeah, let's go with 1/32. That fixed the problem. Now, I want to control the frequency of the filter in here, so we will create basically a sweep while we're moving this knob. So let's take the second destination in here. Let's map it to the filter frequency. Now I want the minimum value to be around 80 Hertz. So I'll choose somewhere right in here. I have 80 Hertz. And the maximum value, I don't want to go all the way up. I want it to stop, let's say, by like 4K. So let's take the maximum value to somewhere in here. So now we have this sweep. We can actually set the maximum value in here to a bit less. Maybe, yeah, 2.7K should be good. Perfect. Now I want to create the same kind of modulation for the resonance. I want to start by 14% and then go higher, but not all the way up. So third destination, I'll map it to the resonance in here. Let's set the minimum value to somewhere around in here. Should be good. Yeah, let's say 12%. And the maximum value will go to, I think 50% should be really nice. Let's hear it out. We can go with a bit more of resonance. Let's set it maybe to 50%. That sounds actually good, and we can maybe add a bit more of frequency modulation, just like so. Okay, perfect. Now it's time to add the delay. Now I want the delay to start playing or introduce itself when the knob hits around 50%. So I'll get some filtering range, let's say, or more flexibility before the delay hits. So I won't have like a delay right away. I mean, imagine yourself on a stage. You don't want the delay to hit right away, especially when there's still bass frequencies playing. So to do so, let's close the filter for now. Let's take the fourth destination here. Let's set it to modulate the dry and wet of the delay. Of course, let's turn it on. Let's set it to 2, just like so, and take its feedback maybe, yeah, 26% should be good. Now, this dry and wet in here, let's call it delay. By the way, we can name everything in this device. So even its name, you know, it says in here, name me. So you know what? I'll call it filter delay phaser, because there's a phaser coming after that. So now what I want to do, this delay, I'll set it to be modulated by the second envelope. And what I'll do, because I want it to start introducing itself at 50%, so I'll create a node like this at 50%. So here we have 0 modulation value, and here the modulation value will be linear to 100%. But I don't want it to be linear. I'll create something a bit more exponential like so. By the way, if you hit Alt, you can create these exponential curves, basically. So I've created this. And the maximum value won't go above 50% because this is a delay, and I don't want the delay to, you know, eat up the whole sound. So now we have this. Perfect. And now for the last bit, I want to add the phaser and flanger effect. Of course, I don't want it to hit right away. I want it to start playing by the end, maybe by like 75% or something like so. So what I'll do, I'll take the fifth destination in here. I'll set it to the dry and wet knob of the phaser flanger device. By the way, it's set to phaser. You can copy my settings. These are kind of like my sweet spot, if that makes sense. Of course, the fifth destination, we'll call it phaser, just like so. I'll set it to be modulated by the third envelope, and for the third envelope, I'll create something similar to the second one, but only on the last portion of the envelope. So I'll create something like this, and I really want to introduce it by the end of the knob modulation. So I'll create a curve like this. So now we have this. Of course, there's not a lot of effect because there's no feedback. Let's give it a bit more feedback. Now we have this. Perfect. And now, if we play the kick and bass, check how we will create a lot of tension using this really simple audio effect we've just created with a lot of the knobs using technically only one knob. Check this out. For the second example, I wanted to show you how to create a one knob instrument using Lord of the Knobs. So it's pretty straightforward. I've used granulator in here, and I've loaded a sample from my virus inside. I've used Lord of the Knobs to modulate both the spraying of the granulator device with this really weird kind of like double pyramid sort of an envelope, and I've also modulated the tuning or the pitch of the granulator device using a simple linear envelope in here. And to make the sound a bit more interesting, I've added the sample delay from Altar of Wisdom. I've set the timing of the sample delay in here to E-1 using the pitch parameter in here. I give it a lot of feedback, almost 50% of dry and wet and some width. And I've also added a really simple gating effect using enveloper from Altar of Wisdom again. It's pretty straightforward modulation in here. And all in all, we'll get this sound using only one knob. Check this out. And with some kick and bass. And for the third example, I wanted to show you how to use Lord of the Knobs as a classic microcontrol, just like you find in any modern synthesizer like Serum, Vital, Pigments, etc., etc. And for that, I've created this synth voice, basically, that uses wavetable to create some sort of an FM sound. Sounds like this. And I've used a couple of Lord of the Knobs in here to control basically two sets of different parameters. So I've used the first one to control the phaser and flanger effect in here and the fast delay that we found right in here. And I've used only, check the envelopes, only linear ones. Now let's check the second Lord of the Knobs in here. So this one actually controls the chorus ensemble effect and the spectral time effect in here. And we have some pretty straightforward modulations in here, pretty quick jump from 0 to 100% value on the first two destinations using the first envelope. And what's really interesting is that these modulations, you cannot create them using the classic macro control that you find in Ableton Live. And now if I'll play this whole glitch lead device that I've created, while playing with these macros, check what we will get. For the fourth example, I've wanted to create a chaotic kind of one knob audio effect that will mangle the sound in different ways that it won't resembles what it was in the beginning, It's these kind of audio effects that you will sample right away, so you can cherry pick the parts you like and maybe mangle them again in a sampler or, do all kind of crazy psychedelic sound designs with them. So for that, and as a starting point, I have this preset in Serum, sounds like this. pretty straightforward. And what I've created in here using Lord of the Knobs, first of all, I've added a bunch of effects. We have a really fast delay, and I've controlled the timing of the delay using a pretty random LFO in here, pretty chaotic. And I've also added a phaser and flanger effect, and I've modulated the rate of this phaser and flanger effect using another random LFO. And to finish it off, I've added a beat repeat effect. Now, things get really interesting when we will look at what's going on inside of Lord of the Knobs. So let's turn it out like this. So the first destination takes care of the dry and wet knob of the delay in here. I'm using the first envelope, pretty straight exponential curve in here, nothing too special. Now for the second destination, I'm modulating the feedback of the delay, and again, nothing too special, pretty straightforward linear envelope in here with a tiny bit of an exponential curve. The third destination is the chance of the beat repeat device, and I want the beat repeat device to only play when we reach almost the end of the knob modulation in here, so it got this kind of curve on the envelope. The fourth modulation in here, which is being modulated by the third envelope that looks like this, is the pitch modulation of the beat repeat device. And I just want a tiny bit of pitch modulation when we will reach the end. And for the fifth destination, we have the dry and wet knob for the phaser and flanger effect. I've used the fourth envelope for it. And this time, I've wanted it to start playing somewhere by like 60% to have like full value, and then by like almost 80%, I want the modulation to go down a bit and then go up again almost by like 90%, and then I want to take off the phaser and flanger all the way down by the end of the modulation, right when the pitch modulation of the beat repeat is playing. So this will get us this kind of complex result. Check this out. And that was Lord of the Knobs in a nutshell and how you can use it. I really hope you've learned something new, and I really hope you like this tutorial. See you in the next one.